This is a lesson on regular French ER verbs. This is a lesson to learn how to use these verbs in the present tense, the past tense, and in the future tense. The verbs that we're going to look at in particular are regarder, voyager, and commencer. So the way that we're going to do this lesson today is I'm just going to show you these three verbs that I just mentioned, and we're going to go through the present tense conjugation along with an example, and then I'm going to show you the passé composé of these regular ER verbs, which is really easy to do, and I'm going to show you how to use regular ER verbs in the futur simple. So maybe you're used to using the futur proche with aller plus an infinitive. That's a really easy way to speak in the future, but guess what? The futur simple of regular verbs is also super easy. So stick with me. We're going to go through some examples. First, I'm going to show you the present tense conjugation of the verb regarder. Alors, je regarde, tu regardes, il, elle, on regarde, nous regardons, vous regardez, il, elle regarde. So what I have on each of those verbs, the last letters are written in red. Always remember those endings because they're going to be the same for all regular ER verbs in French. And guess what? This is the biggest group of regular verbs in French. You can go over to the blog by following the link down in the video description, and you'll find a whole big list of verbs that work exactly like these that I'm going to talk to you about today. Because it's very important is that ER verbs, along with every other verb in French, when you translate these into English, there are three different ways to translate them. So have a look at this. Je regarde means I watch, and the verb regarder has another meaning as well. It also means to look at, so it can mean I look at. It means I do watch or I do look at, and I am watching or I am looking at. This is important to know because a lot of times in English, as English speakers, when we want to translate I am watching, we're tempted to throw in je suis, which means I am. But in French, you don't need that. Je regarde covers all of those words, I am watching. So have a look at this example. Je regarde un film. Je regarde un film means I am watching a movie. D'accord? All right, so the next thing that we need to look at is the past tense conjugation of regular ER verbs. This past tense is called the Passé Composé, and it's very easy to put together. The first thing you need to know is the verb avoir, because we're going to be using this verb avoir as a helping verb. The Passé Composé is composed of two parts. So this is the first part. Here's the conjugation of the verb avoir. J'ai, tu as, il, elle, on a. Nous avons, vous avez, ils ont, elles ont. All right, so now we're going to have a look at the whole past tense conjugation. J'ai regardé. Tu as regardé. Il, elle, on a regardé. Nous avons regardé. Vous avez regardé. Ils ont regardé. Elles ont regardé. So if you have a look at that word regarder, you notice that the last letter in red is an E with an accent mark over it. That's how you form the past participle of all regular ER verbs. You take off the ER and you put on an E accent aigu. D'accord? And it's pronounced regarder. It sounds just like the infinitive. So have a look at this example in the passé composé. J'ai regardé la télé. That means I watched TV. Now some English speakers are tempted to say, oh, okay, that makes sense because j'ai means I have. So in fact, it means I have watched the television. You can translate it that way if you want to, but if you know anything about the passé composé, sometimes avoir is not the helping verb. Sometimes you have to use être. And so it won't necessarily translate I have. D'accord? So that's why I've just written I watched TV. All right. Now we've had a look at the present tense conjugation. the passé composé conjugation, and now I'm going to show you the futur simple. Don't be scared off if you've never learned the futur simple. You're going to see this is so easy because when you learn the passé composé, you already learned the conjugation of the verb avoir, right? Now have a look at this. The verb avoir is very important also in the future tense. Why? Because here's how you form it. You start out with the infinitive of the word. So our verb that we were using a moment ago was regarder. You take the whole infinitive and then you add onto it what we French teachers call the avoir endings. So look at them over on the right. You know, you recognize this. This is the verb avoir, almost. AI is the je form. AS is the tu form, A is the il, elle, on form. And then for the nous and vous forms, we're just going to use ONS and EZ. And then for the third person plural, il and elle plural, we're going to use ONT as the ending. So watch what I mean. We start out with the whole infinitive. Je regardais, right, with the ER on the end. And then I've just tacked the AI onto the end of that. And here's how it's pronounced. Je regarderai. Je regarderai. Tu regarderas. Il, elle, on regardera. Nous regarderons. Vous regarderez. And then il, elle regarderont. D'accord? That's how the futur simple works. And here's the example that I want to show you. Je regarderai le match. I will watch the game. Je regarderai le match. Okay? So, now what I'm going to do is go through some more examples with you. We're going to look at two more regular ER verbs. These verbs, the first one I'm going to show you, ends in GER. The verb is voyager, which means to travel. And you'll notice something a little different in the new form of the present tense conjugation of the verb voyager. This is the same for any ER verb that actually ends in GER. Can you think of any more? Like manger is another one that's very, very common. And you'll find more of those on the list that you can look at on the blog. So let's have a look now at these examples. Voyager, our present tense conjugation. Notice that the endings written in red are the same as they were for the verb regarder. Je voyage, tu voyages, il, elle, on voyage. Nous voyageons, vous voyagez, il, elle voyage. So I have the new form there highlighted for you in blue, and you can see a red E in there. This is the difference. This is a spelling change that happens with GER verbs. Only in the new form, you have to leave the E in between the G and the ONS ending. The reason why is because if you didn't have that E there, it would sound like voyagons. And that's just not very pretty. I'll take a moment now to just remind you that the je, tu, il, and il plural forms all sound exactly the same. It's going to be like that with all ER verbs. Je voyage, tu voyages, il, elle, on voyage. And then the plural, il, elle voyage. Remember that there are three ways to translate je voyage. I travel, I do travel, and I am traveling. Here's an example for you. Je voyage en France. I am traveling to France. When you say en France, that can also mean I am traveling in France if you're already there. D'accord? All right, let's have a look at the past tense conjugation of the verb voyager. Here's just a reminder for you that we need to use avoir as a helping verb. So here's our past tense conjugation of voyager. J'ai voyagé, tu as voyagé, il, elle, on a voyagé. Nous avons voyagé, vous avez voyagé, ils ont voyagé, elles ont voyagé. And an example for you, j'ai voyagé aux États-Unis. I traveled to the US. So when I was traveling to France, I said j'ai voyagé en France because France is a feminine singular country. It ends in an E, and most countries in their French form, if they end in E, you're going to use EN in front of them. États-Unis happens to be a masculine and plural country, so we have to use AUX in front of it to say that I traveled to the US. All right, now our future tense conjugation, a reminder of how to form it. You use your whole infinitive and you tack on the avoir endings. So here's what the future tense conjugation looks like, and here's how you pronounce it. Je voyagerai, tu voyageras, il, elle, on voyagera, nous voyagerons, vous voyagerez, ils, elles voyageront. And another example, in the futur simple, je voyagerai au Canada. I will travel to Canada. Now remember, en France, feminine country, aux États-Unis, masculine plural country, and au Canada, because Canada, notice it doesn't end in an E, it is singular, so we have to put AU in front of it. All right, now I'm going to show you one more ER verb, and this one ends in CER. The verb is commencer, which means to begin or to start. It just, however you want to translate it is fine. So you'll notice that just like verbs that end in GER, verbs that end in CER also have a slight spelling change in the new form, and that's just because of pronunciation, but it is important to remember. So let's have a look at the present tense conjugation of the verb commencer. Alors, so have a look there. You can notice that the last letter, written in red, is the same as the other present tense conjugations that we looked at. The new form, highlighted for you in blue, has a C with a cedille accent on it. When you're in only the new form with CER verbs, you have to remember to do this, because if we didn't put a cedille on that C, it would sound like comment qu'on, which again is not very pretty, so there's a rule to fix that. Let's go through the pronunciation. Je commence, tu commences, il, elle, on commence, nous commençons, vous commencez, il, elle commence. And remember, there are three ways to translate je commence. I begin, I do begin, and I am beginning. So have a look at our example. Je commence à faire mes bagages. Something important I want you to remember is that when you're using the verb commencer and you want to follow it up with another verb, the other verb, like faire, in my example, is going to be in the infinitive form, but there's that little word, a, that has to come before the infinitive. That's particular to the verb commencer. In fact, there are many verbs in French that have to be followed by an a, so this is one of them. It's a good thing to remember. I am beginning to pack my bags is what that means. All right, and now the past tense conjugation. I just threw this up here for a reminder. We need a helping verb. A lot of times people forget the helping verb. So that's avoir. Here we go. J'ai commencé, tu as commencé, il, elle, on a commencé, nous avons commencé, vous avez commencé, ils, elles ont commencé. So, ils ont commencé, elles ont commencé. And our example in the passé composé with the verb commencer, j'ai commencé à faire le dîner. I started to make dinner, or I started making dinner is probably how I would translate that in English. And of course, the future is what we're going to talk about next. Now, do you remember how to form the futur simple before I show it to you? You start out with the whole infinitive, so that's commencer with the ER, and then you add on what we call the avoir endings. You just tack them right onto the end of the whole infinitive. So here's that reminder for you, how we form it, and the futur simple conjugation. Je commencerai, tu commenceras, il, elle, on commencera, nous commencerons, vous commencerez, ils, elles commenceront. So notice in the new form, we don't have a cedille in the passé composé or in the future. That cedille only gets added on there in the present tense. D'accord? So here is your example. Je commencerai à préparer mon voyage. I will begin to prepare my trip. So there again, préparer is an infinitive that I'm choosing to use after commencer, so I have to remember to throw in that a. Alors, voilà, So that's the end of this lesson. Don't forget to look down in the video description and you can follow the link that I've put down there to go to the blog, and that's where you'll see a whole lot more information about regular French ER verbs. I've put on there a big list. It's really a huge list because there's so many ER verbs, but there's a big list with that Quizlet that you can use to practice and master. And by the way, don't forget to join my Quizlet YouTube class. That way you'll get a notification every time I put a new study set in there for you. And voila, if you know what that whole list, if you know what those words mean in English and in French, you're going to be able to say so many things in French that you didn't know how to say before. And remember, you'll know how to do that in the present, passé composé, and in the future. So just one more thing I want to talk to you about. I put out new videos every single Thursday, so in case you don't want to miss anything new on the channel, be sure to subscribe. And if you enjoy my French lessons and all of the free materials that I put up on the internet to help you learn French, you can become my patron at Patreon. That link is also down in the video description, as well as where to find Love Learning Languages on Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, LinkedIn. Teachers, if you're French teachers, you can find so many of my resources at TPT, Teachers Pay Teachers. And last but not least, don't forget to sign up for my newsletter. So I generally write once a week, and I'll inform you of everything that's new in terms of free French resources across the internet, things I've put out. And of course, if you want to have some Skype lessons, just remember that I do give private lessons on Skype. Any kind of lesson you want, really. Test, prep, classic French lessons, conversation classes, French for kids, French for anybody. That's what I'm here for. Merci beaucoup et à très bientôt. Au revoir.